What's up, everybody? Rob Scott of the J Talking Podcast, back with a little rant and ramble today. I wanted to talk about retaliation in baseball. You know, we saw Chris Sale throw at Manny Machado, throw behind him. A day or two before that, we saw Chris Archer throw behind Jose Bautista in retaliation for Joe Biagini hitting Souza. And there's a lot of people on Twitter that I see who are very against retaliating in this way. I am very pro retaliation, and I want to explain why. Not only do I think it's a fair method of self-policing in baseball, but also I think it's a psychological, a biological thing that's in the DNA of all of us. You know, if you look at all of the groups, any type of group you can think of, so that would include prison systems, that would include families, that would include schools, friendships, anything like that, any organization, businesses, beyond the authorities, all of these groups will self-police in some way. So hitting a player with a baseball in retaliation for you hitting their player, I think is important. I think it's an important method to, again, self-police and let other teams know you can't be pushed around. Now, I am not for headhunting. I am not for throwing above the body, upper body, where you can cause damage and really hurt somebody. But I'm very much for hitting people in retaliation if it's appropriate. So, for example, Chris Archer throwing behind Jose Bautista a couple days ago, that was not appropriate because Joe Biagini was not trying to hit Steve Souza. I think that was very clear just from his reaction. So, I do make distinctions between, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And when it's appropriate, I believe it's called for. It's necessary in the game. Baseball players need to be able to self-police. And again, this is beyond the commissioner authority. And in life, families self-police in their own units beyond the police authority. We all have consequences for our actions. And there has to be consequences for your actions to understand there are lines you do not cross. And that's all baseball players are doing. So what other method will they use? So if you're against hitting people with baseballs, but you cannot ignore the fact that all units of groups, again, families, prison systems, prisoners in jail, business organizations, they all self-police within the unit below the actual authorities. They have their own method of keeping things at a certain level. A hierarchy, maybe. In baseball, is it a hierarchy? No. It's more of a consequence for an action. If I'm going to hit you, if you don't have a method for keeping somebody in check, they can just run wild. You can't just let somebody run wild, just constantly throwing at people for no reason. They're pissed off over their coffee, or they're pissed off over their girlfriend, so they want to take it out on somebody. That can't be allowed. But nor can, I don't like that you hit that home run off me, therefore I'm going to plunk you. That's fine if you show the guy up. I don't have a problem with Jose Bautista bat flipping and then getting plunked his next at bat, because to me, I loved seeing him bat flip. I thought it was an amazing moment and fun to watch. But I also understand if you're on the other side of the field, you're showing up. It's an excessive celebration, let's say. And if he gets hit for that, that's fine. But understand, if you're going to hit him for that, then there can be a retaliation from the other side as well. So that is the level of self-policing. Do I want to do this? Is it fair for me to do this? You really have to think it over if you know that another hard ball is coming back at you at some point, right? It's going to cause hesitation. So I am for retaliation in baseball. Now, What we can argue and what we can debate is what is fair retaliation. So if you say, I am for retaliation of some sort in terms of self-policing the players, what is that going to be? Because you can't deny there is not going to be self-policing amongst the players. So what is the what if you're not going to have beanballs, what is that self-policing going to be? And I don't know what it is. You can't make a Jose Batista then go say, okay, Chris Archer, you owe me $10,000 for doing that. That wasn't fair. That's not going to work. But a fastball in the ass, that's gonna send a message. That's fine. So I don't know what other methods you would use to self-police other than beanballs. But again, I'm not pro-violence, but I am pro-self-policing. And if the best method of self-policing is beating somebody in the ass or the leg, go for it. That's fine. And I don't have any problem with it. I don't see it as aggressive. I don't see it as violence. I don't see it as unwarranted. I see it actually as a biological, innate method that humans use to self-police. And that is my defense of it, really, more on a biological scale. So I say on the biological scale, people are just going to self-police each other. And they all use different methods to show there are consequences if you cross a certain line. I don't think that is up for debate in any way whatsoever. What could be up for debate is what is appropriate methods of self-policing. And I can't think of better ones than that. So anyway, I just wanted to give this response because, again, I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying, you know, this is why can't they get this out of the game? And I think it's a great part of the game. I think there's almost no violence in baseball. And so I really don't know what there is to complain about. Anyway, just wanted to drop another little video and let you know my thoughts on this. And I will see you tonight for the Jays' third game against the Yankees. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you later.